everyone, it's Jessica. Thank you for coming by my channel today. So for today's project, we're going to make this fun card that is using the partial die cutting technique. It's a technique that I recently learned, and as soon as I did, I knew immediately what stamp set I was going to want to use with it. So more about that in a second. The cool thing about this technique is that even though you have the balloon coming off the top of your card, it still fits in a regular A2 size card envelope. So this is the stamp set that I want to use, and I'm also using this cloud background die cut. Both of these are part of a card creativity special that is going on with Close to My Heart right now through the end of October 2022. And I really love how cute this stamp set is. It has all of these adorable little critters, and they are hanging onto a balloon and just floating through the sky. It's so much fun. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that balloon die cut, that thin cut that I'm going to need. And the other thing I'm going to need to bring in is a piece of white daisy cardstock. Now I have this cut down to a regular A2 size, so it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm going to place that die cut right up at the very top of my paper. I'm not going off of the paper, but I've got it lined up pretty much right at the very top. I'm using a little bit of washi tape to hold it in place while I am doing my cutting. And now the important thing about this technique is that you don't want to send the entire paper through your die cutting machine. I've actually made this mistake a few times, not even thinking, because I'm so used to just putting the whole paper in there. Really, the trick is to make sure that only the part that you want to cut is included in that sandwich. So you'll see here that I'm letting my piece of cardstock, really most of it is hanging off of that cutting mat. And when I place the top part of the sandwich over it, only part of that balloon die cut is covered. It's the part that I want to cut out of the paper. Now I do want to make sure that all of this is going to be cut straight. So I'm trying to make sure that I have placed that piece of paper on there straight, and then I'm holding my sandwich nice and tight. I'm going to take it off camera, run it through my machine, and again, only the part that was included in the sandwich is cut out. Everything else is just there on the paper. It hasn't cut through. So you'll see what I mean here in a second as I pull off my washi tape. Now I do think that washi tape is a really key piece to have when you are doing this technique, because you want everything to stay exactly where you have put it. I did get a little bit of adhesive left over from my washi tape on my card, but that's fine. I'll just use my rub and remove eraser to clean that up. Now you can see I've got that balloon popping off here. I want to get rid of the rest of the top of that cardstock. So for this part, you'll just need something that you can cut on. If you've got like a kitchen mat or some kind of self-healing mat, anything of that nature. You're going to need a cutting blade and then a ruler. So I'm just lining everything up and using my ruler to help me keep everything straight. Taking that craft knife, that blade, I'm just kind of running it over until I get to the very bottom part of where that balloon die cut had finished cutting. That way when I pull the top of the paper off, all you have is the very top of the balloon popping off of it. Okay, I'm going to clean up my cut a little bit just to make sure that I have it cut exactly where it curved in there on the balloon. And there, it's ready to go. Okay, so next I'm going to turn to my coordinating stamp set, and I'm going to stamp my balloon and my cute little fox guy onto this card front. This is going to end up being the card front here. So I want to use the Intense Black ink pad because I will be adding some color with my tri-blend markers later. And anytime you're adding a coloring medium, Intense Black is definitely the ink pad to reach for because it's not going to do any smearing. So I'm just cleaning up my black here to make sure I don't have any stray ink where I don't want it. Line everything up, stamp that balloon on. So fun. I just love how that looks like it's coming off the top of the card. Like I said, as soon as I learned this technique, I knew immediately which stamp set I needed to use to try it out. And I have just been so excited and having so much fun making these cards. Okay, I'm going to stick with the fox, even though there are a lot of cute other critters included in the stamp set. Ink him up in that Intense Black ink as well, because I'll be coloring him too. And then it's very easy with these clear blacks and clear stamps to line him up to the end of that balloon string. His hand is reaching up, so you just kind of put the top of the hand to the string, and then it looks like he's hanging onto that balloon. So you can see that here. Isn't that so fun? Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a little bit of cloud stenciling to the background of my paper. Now, here is the silly thing. This is part of a card creativity special that's going on. So you can get the bundle that includes that cloud background thin cut, the stamp set, the thin cuts, and a stencil that matches this cloud background exactly. Now, here's how silly I was. When I first went to purchase this, I thought, oh, I'll just get the stamp set and the thin cuts, the coordinating thin cuts. I don't need that cloud background or stencil. And so I bought just the stamp set first. And then I realized that that was kind of ridiculous because I actually would probably use clouds quite a bit, and I really wanted the other part. But you can only get the stencil if you buy the entire bundle. So I had to go back and buy this cloud background separately, and I really only ended up saving myself $1. And I didn't get the stencil. So I had to make my own stencil. You can see here I'm just using a scrap piece of paper that I have run that through with my die cut. I really do wish I would have gotten the stencil. So I will leave some information for that card creativity special in the description box down below. But I'm using my Carolina ink and an ink blending brush here, and I'm just moving it around so that I can get a couple of the different shapes of clouds. And I always am, whenever I do this, I always think, oh, there's not very much color on there. But whenever I lift up my stencil, I'm surprised by how much color is actually on the paper. So you don't have to put a whole lot. I really want this to be kind of light and airy, like he's floating through some clouds. So I think that that's really fun. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is add a little bit of ink distressing to the edge of the card as well. I'm just grabbing a little chunk of my round sponge to do that. I don't want to get any of that blue ink on my balloon though, because the balloon is its own thing and not part of the sky. So I am masking it off with a little sticky note. That way I can get right up to that tricky little corner and add some of that Carolina ink around the edge. So it ends up with this really fun, soft look. Okay, now I'm turning to my Tri-Blend markers to color in the balloon. I'm using the green turquoise blend to color in that balloon, and I'm going to start with the lightest shade and fill in the entire thing. So I have found that if you kind of angle your marker just so, it will, rather than using the very tip of the marker, but more so like a flat side of it, your color is going to go on much smoother. So then I'm going to come in with the middle shade of that same marker and just add a little bit more color to the bottom part of the balloon. I'm imagining that if he is floating through the sky, the sun is probably shining down on him, so it's going to be darker towards the bottom of the balloon. Then finally, I'm going to use the darkest end of that same marker and add just a tiny bit of that dark color around the very bottom. And then I will also use the mid shade to color in the very bottom part where the balloon is tied together. Then after I have added those mid and dark shades, I will go back over the entire thing with my lighter color. So as it dries, it blends even more than what you see here. It's just a really simple way to color. I'm not an expert by any means, but I find it very simple to do. Okay, so these are the colors that I'm going to use to finish coloring in my fox, which I will do off camera. You can see here he is all completed. The last step I need to do, I'm grabbing my clear blending brush, or blending marker, excuse me, and I'm just gonna go into those detail spots on the fox. So like the tip of his tail and on his face, and then the little spot on his chest. And that way it just kind of blends in a little bit and makes it just a very light shade of what the rest of his fur is. Okay, so now I'm going to add the sentiment. There are a lot of really good ones to choose on here. Some of them are just a regular sort of hello, any sort of occasion. Some of them are geared towards birthday, so you definitely have a lot of choices. I'm picking the one that says floating by to say hi. And then I have run that cloud background thin cut through a couple of pieces of my white daisy cardstock, and I've just been saving the clouds that punch out. So it's really nice. Not only do you get the background of it, but you get all of those clouds as some extra pieces. So I pulled 2 of the smaller clouds and then 1 of the larger clouds, and I'm using some thin 3D foam tape. I'm just going to scatter those clouds around and over top of the Carolina blue ones that I stenciled onto the card front. I'm purposely letting that one bottom one to the left hang off, and then I will trim off the excess later. I like how it just kind of looks like it's floating around. And then I also have 3, so I'm thinking about that visual triangle as well. So here you can see I'm just kind of trimming that off. All right, we are nearly done. This card actually, even though it looks like it's got that wow factor, it really comes together very quickly. Okay, so I have grabbed my card base. It is already scored here in the middle, and I want to add a little bit of glimmer to it. glitter to it. So I am using my grape shimmer trim, and I'm just pulling it off, and I'm going to run it right across what would be the top of the card front. And since that score line is already there, it's really easy to make sure that it is nice and straight. Now for here, depending on where I put this, I could have just a little bit of that glitter showing. Like here I've got about half of that shimmer trim showing, or on this other card I made, I actually scooted it up quite a bit and I have a much thinner bit of the wild berry shimmer trim showing. I'm going to go for the same that I did on my other fox card and have about half of that piece of shimmer trim showing, although I could certainly move it down and have some more. Now I do find that liquid glue adheres a little bit better to anything that is glittery. So even though I used my tape runner on the rest of this front panel, I am also using a little bit of liquid glue across the very top where it's going to touch that shimmer trim. So I will just line it up, again, kind of thinking about how much of that I want to be showing. And you will notice that now we've got a little bit of that card down at the bottom. So I'm just putting it in my paper trimmer and cutting off the excess underneath the panel that we created. So when I fold it, I still have that same amount of excess on the back side of the card. So what I'm going to do is use a pencil and make myself a little mark so that I can see how far down it goes. And then same thing, run that through my paper trimmer and cut the bottom off. Now the cool thing about this, again, that balloon is floating off the top of the card, but it will fit in that envelope because from the bottom to the top of the balloon is still 4¼ inches. So it still fits perfectly inside that envelope. All right, I need some more glitter. You're in the clouds. I don't know, I feel like clouds should be glittery. So I have grabbed my clear shimmer brush and I'm putting a coat of that shimmer over top of my clouds as well as the balloon. Here is the finished product. I really hope that the light is catching all of that sparkle and shine for you. In person, it is so pretty how it just catches the light and adds the perfect amount of glitter and shimmer to it. Here again is that other one I made with the cute little rabbit in a couple of different colors. And that's it. Oh my gosh, I really had so much fun making this. Like I said, as soon as I learned that partial die cutting technique, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with it. I hope you guys feel inspired to create some similar cards or to try this technique out if you haven't done it before. And that card creativity bundle is available through the end of October through Close to My Heart. So I will leave some links to all the products that I have used down below. Thank you so much for coming by today to watch. I hope you had as much fun watching as I did creating these. All right, guys, have a great day. Happy crafting. Bye.